Hi everyone, we're the Soul Sisters. I'm Janelli.
And I'm Saira. Today we're gonna make repollo rice and beans. So we're making a cabbage slaw salad and rice and beans to accompany it to show you what a typical Latin American dish looks like for us growing up. And we still eat it to this day because it's really good. And it has everything you need in a plate.
It has your carbs, your proteins, and your fats. So let's get into it.
The salad is basically composed of purple and green cabbage, tomatoes, radish, watercress. It's not always easy to find, but if you find something similar that just says watercress and it's along the lines,
Or cress.
yeah, it works very well. It has really good health benefits.
And we have some radishes, so we have sliced them up very thin.
Yeah. If you have a mandolin, use that. That makes it so much easier. So you just add lime and salt. That's pretty much it. So we're gonna show you how we put everything together and then we'll give you the final look. Okay, so we're gonna get into the rice part. Rinse your rice and then let it strain so it can kind of dry up, because if you let it sit in water for too long, it'll get soggy when you cook it. So we're gonna use 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You can use other kinds of oil. My favorite is olive oil. And then we're gonna kind of stir fry the rice. This is a method we normally do. It just gives it a little bit of a fried texture.
I think the flavor changes.
And the flavor changes kind of like, I don't know, I guess it kind of darkens it too, because we want to kind of...
It's like toasted rice.
Toasted, yeah,
that
you toast
you
it.
cook. It's different than just boiling it and cooking it with water.
True. And you want to have the rice filled with all the olive oil so it doesn't burn, because if it burns, then it's going to taste burnt when you eat it. For the seasonings, we're going to do 1 teaspoon of salt, about a half teaspoon of cumin, it's ground, and then I have about 2 teaspoons of the vegan chicken stock, it's so wordy, and then about 1/2 teaspoon to like 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And this salt is very thick and coarse, so I'm gonna add some of the veggie stock in there so it can kind of dissolve the salt. So for this recipe, I'm doubling it up. So I'm gonna use 4 cups of veggie stock for this to cook. You can use water, but the veggie stock gives it more flavor, and that's kind of what we're going for. We wanted to give it that extra flavor. All right, so now we're gonna start with the tomato so that we can finish off the rice. The onions and the rice have been cooked together and the rice is looking toasty and perfect. Kind of want it to look dry so that it absorbs the juices.
And how many tomatoes do you have here?
I use 2 tomatoes. I use Roma tomatoes. You can use any kind of tomato.
And they're diced, right?
Diced, yeah. I dice them, and then the tomatoes go after, because the onion needs to get translucent so that it can kind of like...
You're adding flavor, yeah.
Yeah, adding the flavor, and then the tomatoes add the moisture to make it juicy and flavorful. So you combine that, and then we're gonna add the broth so that we can let it cook for like about 15 minutes or so. I'm gonna add the seasonings with the broth, and that is gonna absorb in there. We're gonna add the broth. And what you can do, if you feel unsure, you can add as you go. Add 1 cup and then it absorbs it. Try the rice. If it tastes raw, add more broth. Because sometimes like I've made the mistake where I add too much water and then you get a big ball of rice.
Just mush.
Bunch of mush. It looks like oatmeal. We don't want oatmeal.
Also, a good rule of thumb is to do a 2-to-1 ratio of
Pretty
water to rice. So
Yeah.
water is always going to be double what the rice is. So
Yeah.
even if you wanted to try this recipe, you can still use that ratio, and it's easier to make smaller portions or larger.
Exactly. So at this point, I put half of the amount of the broth, and I'm gonna just add as I go, so that way I don't overdo it. And then we're gonna give it like 15 minutes until like boils and like simmers and cooks, and then we'll show you how to make the cabbage next.
So we're gonna make the cabbage salad now, and we cut a half of a medium green cabbage and a quarter of a large red cabbage, so it should be shredded like this. You combine it. We're gonna add the upland cress. This is what it looks like with the radishes, also thinly sliced.
Yeah.
And we're gonna add some sliced tomatoes. These are Roma.
Roma as well. It's about 2 of them.
So about 2 Roma tomatoes. This is
Yeah.
just limes and salt. Super easy.
Yeah.
You could add a little bit of olive oil if you want to absorb those nutrients, because salad typically you do need some oil or fat to absorb it. It doesn't absorb as great if you don't have that, so
True.
that's also optional.
I think it's good because it's like kind of bitter ingredients, and then you're putting lime juice and then salt to kind of like take that bitterness away.
Yeah, we're just gonna use 2 limes for now, but pretty much just add some to your taste, however much you need. Depending on the limes too, if they're not really juicy, then you're gonna want to add more.
And then 1 teaspoon of salt.
So that's pretty much it. Once you prep all the veggies, you just mix everything together and mix it all up.
Okay, so this is our final look for our plate. Our rice, our beans, and our cabbage salad. We have an additional little lime for garnish. I love to eat my rice with lime. It's probably weird, but that's how we grew up eating it.
It tastes good.
I don't know.
We should try it.
Yeah.
As you can see, there's a little bit of beans, and the majority is like the vegetables. You can add less rice if you don't want that much.
Yeah.
But you really want to focus on veggies when you have a balanced plate. You want to have half of your plate with vegetables and the rest with proteins and carbs.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. So
we're gonna try it.
Try it. It's a lot of veggies. That was my favorite. It's so good.
I love the crunch.
So this watercress we got is also bitter, just like the other one that we usually buy. So that's kind of what you want. You want it to be a little bitter.
Normally we use watercress. Today we're using upland cress, something like that. Has a weird name, but it tastes just the same. And if anything, I actually like the upland cress because it's like a thinner version of it. It's like a baby version. It's not as mature. The rice is also seasoned so well. It's so good.
It's a perfect combination.
The beans have Epazote, right?
Yeah, so it's a weird name. What is it called? Wormseed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny name. It's this plant that helps kind of like neutralize the gases for when we cook the beans when they get boiled, because we cook them and then we refry them. We blend the beans and then fry them. And then we add like cumin, garlic salt, and a little bit of salt and some olive oil. And it's perfect combination for this dish.
Yeah, so if you're scared of beans because they make you gassy, that might help with reducing those
plant
effects inside when you eat that. So
this is like definitely something we recommend and budget friendly. So
super affordable. Highly recommend it. You
Yeah.
should try it out and give this video a thumbs up if you liked what you saw, and we'll see you next time.
till next time.
Bye.